If you're watching on TV, our next featured guest, Ed Jones, was waving the wheat during that highlight call. You figured that out. You're a Houston guy originally, but you've been around long enough to know this is what we do.
So I figured out what waving the wheat was in my freshman year. I went to the University of Houston, and we played Kansas in the I can't think of it. The bowl.
Fort Worth Bowl.
Fort Worth Bowl.
Yeah.
And if anybody remembers that game, there was a lot of waving of the wheat, and I was like, man, I remember looking at the stands like, man, what is going on? So it's good to be on this side of it because that was not a fun time for me.
Jason Swanson was the offensive MVP that day. Kansas won under Mark Mangino. Great to have you with us. We got about 20 minutes with you tonight to break down what you bring to the equation. And I love the preview that Coach Miles gave us saying that there's only two people that coach the entire team, him and you. So give me your own job description of what the player development director does.
It's interesting he said that because whenever I talk to people, a lot of people are interested because this is a position that's pretty new to college football. And I've said that before, like I see myself as the head coach off the field. So it was awesome to hear our head coach say that.
Yeah.
But it's a lot. It's the overall development of all of 120 of our guys. Our coaches do an incredible job with the skill development, not only in the weight room, not only in the film, on the practice field. And I'm responsible for the overall development of them as men off the field. And so we do it through 3 ways, which I know we'll talk about beyond the field. We do it through personal wellness, community impact, and career development.
I love that. So, yes, we teased Beyond the Field. That's the name of the program you've implemented here. Give us Beyond the Field 101.
Yeah, so basically I'm a marketing minor, and when I was at the University of Houston, I was a high school coach before I got the job there. And I didn't want to just be your basic player development department. So I was like, let's create a program. And so the name Beyond the Field came, and the 3 things I thought were very important to a college football player would be their own personal wellness, their impact in the community, and their development and careers later on in their life.
And that could be getting a guy on LinkedIn.
Correct.
That could be establishing his personal brand. That could be finding out what charitable causes speak to their heart and
Correct.
Equipping them with the opportunity to serve.
So we have a Beyond the Field win this week. Cole Brungart, our kicker from here, I believe he went to Lawrence High School, he just accepted a full-time position with H&RY Logistics in Overland Park, Kansas. And so he'll start in January. So that's, and Cole's incredible. We helped out a little bit with that. A lot of that has to deal with Cole. But seeing that, those are things that, transferring those skills that he's learning every single day as a Jayhawk football player. And I know he's going to take it with him into his career and dominate in the logistics and further on. I can see Cole being a CEO. If you ever met Cole, he's straight to the point.
I love that. And you called it a Beyond the Field win.
Correct.
You hear head coaches all the time talk about developing not only winners on the field or on the court, but winners in life. Mm-hmm. And a lot of coaches at the end of their illustrious careers say, yeah, but I look at what they did 30 years later, the husbands and fathers they became, the business leaders, the community leaders they turned out to be. And that literally now is your job.
Yes. And we're able to impact that while they're here now.
To plant those seeds.
Absolutely. To plant those seeds and to see a little bit of it grow before they graduate. So that's fun. I think it's called the bud of the seed. So
yeah, no doubt. Well, I want to get into specifics of stories you can bring up, and we'll do that in our next segment of various things you've done with certain guys that fit into that model of personal wellness, community impact, and career development. But social action is another part of it too, and that's been obviously a prevalent theme in recent months. Tell me what's going on with social justice this fall. I know guys like Stephon Robinson and Chris Hughes have been active.
Stephon Robinson, Chris Hughes, Logan Klussman, Sam Burt. We all got together. And we wanted to provide a space for our student athletes to talk to us and let us know what was important to them. And the biggest thing that was important to them was voting for the whole entire team. And it's like we talked about a little earlier today. For me, I understand voting, go register, vote, but we had to break it down to its most minute state for our players. And they were like, hey, Coach, we want information cards for our guys. We want them to know about what positions, what this position means, what it actually means. And so we were able to do that. And one day we had a registration drive in the front of our building. Shout out to my intern, Lauren Hawkins, who was there. We were able to help 60 people register. So staff and players, mostly players. So, and that was all the players. That's all they wanted. And so Coach Miles has allowed us to create these committees to where our players have the opportunity to see the impact they want to create. And we could put effort toward what they wanted, the mark they want to leave here on the Kansas football program.
That's really cool. For most of these players, this is the first time they've ever voted in a presidential election.
Yes.
So you literally, from step one through the end of the process, helped them along the way so they could have their voice heard. That's really neat. Well, we'll talk about more specifics and some really interesting stories with some of these young guys that Ed has had a chance to mentor straight ahead. Before we get out to our next time out, though, do want to tell you about a message from KDOT. The Kansas Department of Transportation and the Drive to Zero Coalition remind you to buckle up, eliminate distracted driving, and if you've been drinking, find a sober ride home. True Blue Jayhawks don't drink and drive. More Hawk Talk coming up with Ed Jones, who's got his driver's license.
KDOT,
so,
Kansas.
There you go.
Yeah,
I like it.
Let's go.
For those not watching
Shout
on television.
out to
Very nice. What else do you have as props tonight? You got some cheese sticks you can bring out here.
Cheese sticks and a student.
And a lovely wife and 2 daughters as well?
Yes.
So we'll talk about that when we come back. It's more Hawk Talk with Ed Jones, our Director of Player Development, when we return on the Equity Bank Jayhawk Sports Network from Learfield, IMG College.
Ensuing kickoff brought out by Kenny Logan. Breaks the tackle at the 25, cuts it back at the 35. He's to midfield at the 45-40, 35-30, 25-20, 15-10-5. Touchdown, Kansas. Kenny Logan comes right back to the end zone for 6. The best return of his young career.
A star is born in Kenny Logan. He's had back-to-back games of interceptions, a 100-yard kick return touchdown. You heard right there.
Yes.
He is a special, special talent. What's he like as a young man?
The biggest thing I will say, what impressed me about that play, a lot of people didn't see, is Kenny returned that touchdown 100 and how many ever yards it was.
Right.
One of his teammates came to him and said, "Hey, Kenny, what do you have on this coverage?" And he said, "No, I'm going out there." So he literally returned his kick and went straight back out to play defense. And when we look at our younger guys and the culture we're setting, those are things that, the small things that I don't think everybody gets a chance to see, that are the positive things that our younger guys see, because he's a second-year player.
Yep.
And that just stood out to me, and I had an opportunity to talk to him about that after the game and how it impressed me.
That's great commentary from our Director of Player Development, Ed Jones, who's helping us out here tonight. And, Ed, I do want to point out your lovely wife, Lucretia's here with us. You got 2 daughters as well. And Lucretia's from Kansas City, right?
Yes, Kansas City, Missouri, Hogan Prep
sure.
graduate.
They've produced a lot of good athletes over the years. And so when this job came open, this was probably a natural choice in her backyard.
The craziest, I'll give the quickest snippet of this job here. So I was at the University of Houston. I kind of figured we were going to get let go after the Army bowl game. They kind of put it on us pretty bad. So I haven't had a great experience with Fort Worth bowls in my life. And so I literally was heading to the AD, our athletic director, had let our coaches go, and we were the next to go. And I get a call from 785, and someone from Kansas says, "Hey, we heard you're the guy we need." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm the guy you need, because I'm about to walk in here and get fired." So our AD is talking to us, and I'm like, "Hey, can we hurry this up? I got to get ready for an interview with Coach Miles next Wednesday. Let's go." So
wow. What timing?
She was excited. Like, once I told her I had an interview, she was already looking at places. I was like, "Well, it's just an interview." She's like, "Well, I just, need to be prepared. Going back home." So it's been fun.
Great return home for her, and I'm glad you're now making Kansas your home.
Yes.
A guy that obviously has a lot of Texas ties, being from Houston, and now Jayhawk through and through. Let's talk more about what you do with the student-athletes, though, and some specific examples. Sam Burt, for example, you can hear his story on the Jayhawker podcast. This is a guy who loves wildlife. He may work at a national park in another year. He's got a couple of dreams, whether it's Yosemite or somewhere else. He's going to make it big time in that industry. But because of that, recycling is important to him. Stuff that is good for our environment is important to Sam. So he came to you with that thought. Pick up the story from there.
So it all starts based off, and once again, I'm just excited for the opportunities Coach Miles gives us to impact our student-athletes. We have a branding workshop. Shout out to our communications, creative department, SIDs, all of them. They're there. They're helping us out. Give them a shout out. And shout out to all being here. I forgot to say that. I was supposed to say when I first came in. I didn't read my cue card.
Great
my
job
personal
playing
cue
up to the
card.
crowd.
Sorry.
I like
Thank
that.
y'all.
Yeah.
But they do an incredible job taking time out of their day, honestly, because it's not, we're asking them. I approached them, all of them, and said, "Hey, do you all mind helping out?" And I've kind of been co-leading it with Ashley McCaffrey, who's our director of creative design, things like that. And so we're working on a branding workshop. And
so this is branding for social media.
Correct.
The way they represent themselves to the fan base,
and
both visually and with their
absolutely.
handle and all kinds of things.
Absolutely. And so Sam's passionate about wildlife. And we were working on brand statements. And so we were sitting there today in a meeting. And his brand statement, he brought up the aspect. He said, "Hey, we're supposed to drink a bottle of water. Our defensive line coach makes us drink a bottle of water so they can stay hydrated before the meeting starts." He says 13 defensive linemen in the room. We drink a bottle of water. We meet 5 times a week. So I just put in a calculator 13 times 5 times the 12 games we play, and it's 780 bottles at minimum. And so he was like, it'd be nice if we have, we have them in our facility, but he was saying if we could put them more in other places to continue to make awareness of recycling. And it was just a brilliant idea, and it was just his passion, and we sat there and we saw that, and it's just that's just another thing. Once again, we don't know that, or our student athletes don't have opportunity to speak that if we don't have opportunity for them to speak. And once again, I'm thankful for Coach Miles, thankful for our communications department, SIDs who do incredible work there. Give a shout out, Daniel Burke, Andy Aish, Aaron Penning, Ash McCaffrey's not here, Kevin Berg, shout out to Bree, she's also here. I'm a shout out person, sorry.
No, that's good, that's good. So some of these are planned initiatives like that, getting the
Correct.
recycling bins in there, doing stuff with other community organizations like Just Food, who you partnered with. But give me a 60-second story on something that just happened randomly when you're sitting down with Alonso Person and he asked you how to tie a tie.
So, yes, Alonso Person was in my office. We were handling some things, me, him, and my intern, Lauren. We were getting something. He was situated. He was writing a paper, and so we were kind of helping him with the paper, where it was going. And he sees a tie, and I have a random tie in my office. Honestly, I don't know why it's there, but it's in there. And he's like, Coach, can you teach me how to tie a tie? And I was like, absolutely. And so we sat there, and I taught him how to tie a tie. He figured it out, like literally figured it out in 5 minutes, looped all that, had it done. We did a little tie dance that is on Twitter. That kind of blew up a little more than I thought. Yeah. There's viral, and then there's like semi-viral with sub-viral, but it blew up more than I thought.
That's cool. But this all falls under the huge umbrella of preparing these guys for life.
Well, the thing I like about it, and when I thought about it riding home, is it was a cool moment, but we created a space where he can ask that question.
Yeah.
Where he can say, hey, Coach, can you teach me how to tie a tie? And not feel like, hey, you need to be worried about your playbook, or you need to be worried about whatever it may be, which, that's going to happen, and that's a reality, but he's able to find a space where he can better himself.
It's all part of the family culture you're creating. You're Uncle Ed, basically.
Correct, yes.
Uncle Ed helped me tie my tie. I love it. We got to take one final timeout. More with Ed Jones right after this on Hawk Talk on the Equity Bank Jayhawk Sports Network from Learfield, IMG College.
Yes.
Welcome back to Hawk Talk. Time to wrap up the show. Before we do, if you're watching on TV, check out these gorgeous pewter Jayhawk statues. They're from iconartworks.com. Check them out today, iconartworks.com, just in time for holiday shopping. All right, Ed Jones, close us down, Director of Player Development. You know these student athletes as people better than anybody. So rapid-fire fashion in our last 40 seconds.
Here we go.
Which of the entire roster, 120 guys, do you love as a person so much, such great character integrity, you would allow him to date your sister?
Kyron Johnson. He's old school. Yes, my younger sister is single, and Kyron Johnson is old school. So
he'd sing to her, too.
Yeah, he can sing,
okay.
Yes.
Of the entire roster, who is most likely to go on to be a Hall of Fame coach like Les Miles?
That's on the spot.
Quick.
Marcus Harris. Marcus Harris.
Okay,
coach, yes.
and President of the United States?
Logan Klussman.
Logan Klussman. Great answer. Ed, thanks so much. This has been Hawk Talk on the Jayhawk Network.